I want you to tell me, Miss Chasar, why you moved out.
Okay, first, they never gave me a key. If I'm paying for a place...
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
They never gave you a key.
So I had acted.
So he was living with you.
Imagine this. You pay your rent up front 3 months in advance. No less, but every night after work, you're standing outside your own building, texting the landlord and begging someone to come downstairs and let you in. This inconvenience dragged on for an entire month, and when she finally decided she couldn't take it anymore and chose to move out, the landlord simply said, "You're not getting a single dollar back." This created a serious power imbalance. She couldn't freely enter or exit her own home. Her personal schedule, work, gym, social life was completely restricted. She couldn't maintain a normal routine because her access depended entirely on an unwilling gatekeeper. Losing that sense of autonomy creates long-term stress. The constant waiting, the fear of bothering someone, the worry they might refuse to open the door, or the anxiety of causing conflict. It feels like being trapped in the very place you're paying to live in. So Chasar filed a lawsuit against Marshall, the supposed landlord, to recover her rent.
Now, you gave Mr. Marshall, according to you, 3 months' rent up front.
Correct.
$500 a month for 3 months, and he was able to renew his lease. So far, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
However, it all didn't work out well, and you left within the first month of staying there. So you want the other 2 months' rent back.
Correct.
Mr. Marshall says you chose to leave, you don't get the rent back.
She stated that she had paid $1,500 upfront for 3 months, but had to end the agreement early because the living conditions made it impossible for her to independently enter the building. Her demand was simple. She wanted back $1,000 the 2 months of unused rent after she moved out on September 2, exactly 1 month after moving in on August 2. This case was never just about money. It was about autonomy, respect, and the basic rights between a tenant and a landlord. Chasar entered this agreement with trust and a desire for stability, shown by the large upfront payment. Instead of receiving legal, independent possession of the space, she was left entirely dependent on Marshall and his girlfriend.
What day and month did she leave?
September 4th was the final day that she was there.
Things escalated when Judge Judy asked for her move-out date. Marshall gave a strange answer, September 4. 2 days sounds insignificant. But once the details unfolded, everything collapsed on Marshall.
First, they never gave me a key. If I'm paying for a place...
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
They never gave you a key.
So I had acted.
So he was living with your friend.
Correct.
Did you ask him for a key?
Yes, and he said that he couldn't make a key for me. So
The plaintiff's answer shook the courtroom, and this was the tipping point of the entire case. Marshall tried to argue she had the keys to the apartment, but Judy immediately interrupted. I was talking about the keys to the building, not the door.
I had the corresponding text message between me and Helena and Dylan. This is when I said I was going to move out tonight, and it was dated for September 2nd. She was at Best Buy because she's a personal assistant.
So you called Helena to get a key
to get into the apartment.
To get into the apartment, because that's the way you had to get into the apartment.
Correct.
And she wrote back, I stood outside of Best Buy and waited, but I couldn't wait too long because my boss was going to get... You wrote that back to her?
I was in Best Buy for over 45 minutes with Nikita.
The moment she had to wait outside Best Buy, an electronics center, waiting for Marshall's girlfriend to get off work for nearly 45 minutes just to get her house card, this is a testament to the extreme level of absurdity. Not because she lacked ability, but because the landlord failed to provide the bare minimum required by law. For any tenant, having to coordinate their life around the landlord defeats the entire purpose of a rental agreement. The psychological stress here is real, and her decision to leave early wasn't irresponsibility, it was self-preservation. Instead of demanding the full $1,500, Miss Chasar only asked for $1,000, the amount she did not use because she left early. This shows that she was not manipulative, was not demanding too much, was not trying to profit. Her actions were reasonable, balanced, and reflected sanity. She just wanted justice and a refund of the portion of money that corresponded to the months she could not live in the legal minimum conditions. And Judge Judy saw that instantly. A rental that the tenant cannot independently enter is not a lawful rental. On Marshall's side, the dishonesty wasn't just about failing to provide the key, it went all the way back to him concealing the true nature of the agreement from the very beginning. When confronted with a simple question why he couldn't produce a key card, Marshall immediately clung to the HOA excuse, the one lifeline he thought would save him. But instead, it became the very evidence that destroyed his defense. In this case, the HOA was the entity that controlled the building's encoded keycards, allowed only the owner to register a card as, could penalize anyone who created unauthorized keycards process. This meant Marshall could not legally issue an encoded keycard to a subtenant, Miss Chazar. And Marshall knew perfectly well that the HOA had strict regulations on encoded cards. He knew he couldn't provide a lawful keycard, yet he still took the money. That turned the entire transaction into an act of bad faith from the start. More striking was his attempt to season the story, accusing the plaintiff of threatening him, insisting she moved out on September 4 instead of September 2, filing a police report to build a counterattack narrative. All of it showed a calculated effort to keep the money, not a commitment to the truth. This is a classic compensatory defense mechanism. The party who made the mistake tries to create faults for the other side in order to justify their own breach of contract.
Actually, it wasn't an ultimatum of not having the rent back as a result of wanting to leave. It was a question of a number of items that had gone missing from the property.
Tensions escalated when Marshall threw in an accusation of missing items. This was a blatant distraction tactic. When a defendant runs out of legal arguments, they often pivot to emotion, morality, or outright fabrication, hoping to blur the real issue. But Judge Judy caught it instantly.
From the property.
So is what you're saying to me, sir, that you believe that Miss Chazar took property, so you're offsetting that from the rent?
She didn't just cut him off. She called it a soap opera, implying Marshall was crafting a melodramatic script to dodge his legal obligations. The 2-day discrepancy didn't change the rent calculation, but it exposed the defendant's intentions. She immediately cut it short. I don't care about betrayal, personal feelings, or your dramatic messages. I care about the contractual obligation. With that one sentence, Marshall deflated like a punctured balloon. Because the core issue was not that he felt angry, sad, or hurt, it was that he took someone's rent money, but failed to provide lawful access to the building. He couldn't prove he was right, so he tried to stretch the timeline to make it appear as if the plaintiff stayed longer than she actually did. This is a petty, bad faith legal tactic and, in Judy's eyes, a clear sign of dishonesty. Judy's request to see the Best Buy text messages was the turning point of the entire case. Those messages were living proof that the plaintiff did not have access to her home. They weren't stories, not feelings, not interpretations. They were real-time data. One of the fundamental principles of lawful possession is that a tenant must be able to access the property at any time without obstruction. Being forced to wait nearly an hour destroyed Marshall's argument instantly. The HOA wasn't just a side detail, it was the legal backbone of the entire case. The building did not permit subtenants to have encoded keycards, which means Marshall never had the legal right to accept rent in the first place. His actions weren't a mistake. They were the sale of a right he did not own. And when Judy said, "You sold a service you had no legal right to sell," that was the line that ended any remaining debate. The moment he said the keycard cannot be duplicated, he accidentally confessed to his biggest fault. He took money knowing he couldn't fulfill his basic obligation. This wasn't a technical error, it was dishonesty at the moment the agreement was formed. To help you visualize it clearly, to give you an idea, keys, no. Keycards, not issued. Access, no. But the rent fully collected. One small but extremely important detail that many people overlook is Chazar's demeanor throughout the hearing. She wasn't angry, wasn't dramatic, didn't exaggerate, and didn't try to smear anyone. She simply presented the facts in a consistent, coherent manner. In witness analysis, consistency is the gold standard for credibility. She explained that her reason for leaving wasn't an argument, wasn't missing items, but the simple fact that she couldn't live in a situation where she had to ask permission just to come home. That aligned perfectly with the text messages, with her testimony, and with the overall behavior Marshall showed. Meanwhile, Marshall's behavior followed the classic pattern of someone cornered, throwing out scattered accusations, jumping from one excuse to another, ultimately relying on a police report that had no direct relevance. A report filed in panic holds no more weight than a violated contractual obligation. Judge Judy, as always, cut through every layer of emotion, every attempt at distraction, and went straight to the legal core. He took money for a right he had no ability to deliver. This is one of the golden principles of civil contracts. You cannot sell something you are incapable of providing. The HOA rules were not an excuse, and they were not the plaintiff's burden. They are entirely the defendant's responsibility. When someone enters an agreement without verifying their own ability to perform, all legal risk falls on them. And the moment Judy pointed out how absurd the keycard excuse was, especially since Marshall's girlfriend still had a functioning card, that was the moment his entire justification collapsed. And then the verdict dropped like the hammer of justice. Total, $1,000. You will refund her the full amount for the time she could not live there. And ended with her signature line.
Ridiculous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's your 2 months' rent. Out.
That a contract is a contract, a responsibility is a responsibility, and fairness only exists when both sides clearly understand the boundaries of their rights and obligations. This is a reminder for anyone participating in the rental market: never rent out something you don't truly have the right to offer, never pay for something that doesn't guarantee your freedom, and always stay alert when your rights are being violated.